Nephites, this was kind of a high point in their pride cycle, I guess you could call it. They were seeking for riches. Was one of the things that Jacob had talked to them about, as far as what was one of their faults at the time. And another was that they had multiple partners, multiple wives, concubines, and so Jacob felt the need to address that. Actually, he was told by the Lord that he needed to address that, and so he did. And when he did, it wasn't just the men that he was talking to. It was that everyone was present at the temple at the time that he addressed it. So he felt kind of bad that the people that were hurting from this situation, the women, and the innocent that didn't know anything about this situation, were not able to be healed, to get comfort from what he was saying when he was addressing it. So that was one of the things that he pointed out. It makes me wonder, how this was actually happening. I'm sure that the multiple wives things, the concubines, that was practiced in the Bible by Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and for the most part, that was the Lord commanding these men to take on multiple wives, and we know in church history that was practiced as well, because it was commanded by the Lord. And Jacob talks about how they received a commandment that they should only have one wife, and they shouldn't have any concubines. So I can only imagine how conflicted Joseph Smith felt when he was translating that. Well, after he translated that, and when he was commanded by the Lord to institute polygamy. And we know that from his history that he was opposed to it. He didn't want to do it. So, probably because he knew how some of the women would feel. It makes me wonder, what else was going on. I mean, these men were prideful. They were treasure hunters. They were having polyamorous sexual relationships, not for the benefit of anyone but themselves. They weren't trying to gain wealth so that they could help the poor and the needy, or even provide better for their families. It was likely to fulfill their own lusts for possessions, for riches, which is pretty much the same reason they were engaging in polygamy, was to satisfy their own lusts, or to give in to their own lusts, or justify their own lusts, I guess. And so I think, given the history of the Hebrew history, the House of Israel's history with multiple wives, and the church's own history with multiple wives, I think it's important to look at it in a different light. Those times that it was authorized to be practiced, especially if a man seeks to have multiple wives, or justifies having multiple wives by doctrine so that he can have multiple sexual relationships. That's a problem, and I think it's important to look into ourselves. Like, what are my desires? Do I want more material goods because there's a lust there, or am I seeking to use material goods and wealth to provide for people, to share the gospel? Am I seeking to do the Lord's will by seeking for riches, or a better paying job, or investments, or whatever you can apply that to? The important thing is, if we are to do it, it needs to be because we're seeking the Lord's will. We were trying to provide for those that need it, that maybe don't have the resources or the skills, and not compulsory. Like, we should not be compelled by anyone other than our own desire to love people, to share wealth, to give to the needy, to comfort those that need comfort, to comfort widows, to lift others. And I think when we think about any kind of relationship with anyone other than our spouse, it needs to come from a place of charity, of pure love, not from lust. And I think that's probably the biggest downfall of the Nephites at the time that Jacob was addressing this, was they gave in to their lust. They didn't try to put off the natural man. So I don't know, I hope this makes sense, but it's not. I don't know. I'm not doing it. I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it. I mean, if somebody benefits from me posting this online, great. But I'm not recording this with the intent to get attention. These are just, my ramblings. So, and I feel like when there's a big break in me doing these, I always kind of start my first one saying that. I guess as a disclaimer. I don't need attention from people. It's not the YouTube. I can upload videos, as many as I want, without having to pay for it or what have you. So that's why I do these. It's just so that I can express my thoughts. It's my journal. Maybe I'll share publicly, maybe I won't. It doesn't really matter at this point.